Is Tesla's reign over? Is the electric car market going to be flooded with Tesla competitors and drive Tesla price down to half, maybe even lower? Even Elon Musk said, hey, Q1 revenues aren't going to be so strong. What's going to happen to Tesla? Let's deal with that this episode. So I just got done watching a Wall Street analyst say, well, Tesla's done. In fact, GM, and they cited GM as one of the larger auto manufacturers, is going to take a clean sheet approach. This was his words. GM is going to take a clean sheet approach and manufacture competing cars, maybe trucks, and beat Tesla at their own game. And what they're going to have to do is bring in staff to build their own proprietary software in-house. Now, all of this sounds on the surface like it's really bad for Tesla, especially for a company that has hundreds of years of auto manufacturing experience. It looks really bad for Tesla stock, but is it? You know, I'm constantly amazed at how quickly people either forget the lessons of history or just don't pay attention to the lessons of history. It's one or the other, or maybe it's both. GM competing with Tesla is a ridiculous idea. Anybody that's a large manufacturer competing against Tesla is an insanely ridiculous idea that just absolutely shows that the person pushing forward that idea has paid no attention to history. There's a better chance for a Chinese competitor to make a Tesla competitor than a large existing manufacturer. First of all, they're not going to be able to use any of their existing infrastructure. You're not going to be able to leverage your massive factories and your massive worker pool. Why not? Why? If you've ever been into a Tesla showroom, you know that the Tesla drivetrain, the Tesla frame, the Tesla body is completely different. It's not built the way GMs are built, Fords are built, BMWs, anything, any other cars that are out, Nissan, Toyota, they're not built the way Teslas are built. So, well, can't they just retool? Do you remember, does this ring a bell as to a familiar story, maybe several years back? Does this kind of call back any memories? When Elon Musk himself first started to build his first Tesla, his electric car, what did he do? How did he start? He thought, in his mind, and as brilliant as he is, you got to give him that. He thought, well, all we have to do is create an electric motor, get rid of the engine. So all we have to do then is just use a base, a drivetrain, a frame. How about the Lotus? I like the way the Lotus drives. It's like driving on rails, according to Pretty Woman or Lady, right? So they did that. What happened? It didn't work. They had to scrap the whole thing and redesign everything from the chassis all the way up. If you redesign everything from the ground up, if you take a totally really clean sheet approach to something, your existing infrastructure is no longer an asset. Your existing factories, your existing workers, your existing base, your existing everything is actually a liability. Why? Because you're caught in the innovator's dilemma. You're fighting a two-front war. That's why I say brand new upstarts in China are more likely to be legitimate competitors against Elon Musk and Tesla. But China and mechanics, have you ever bought anything made in China in the last, 30 years, in the last 3 days? The way the Chinese manufacturing culture, the way it works, it's a manufacturing culture thing. It's not an expertise thing. The Chinese actually make Apple products, and Apple products are fantastic. They're made in China. So outside of Apple-owned Chinese physical hard goods, have you tried any of their products? The manufacturing culture right now it just will not stand up to American standards, Elon Musk standards, and even the Tesla has interior issues, some upholstery type interior issues that aren't up to German standards. And so if you take German standards and then you drop them down to American standards, by the time you build in Chinese standards somewhere on this matrix, it's so low that do you really want to put your family in a Chinese car? I realize all of this can change. All of this can change. But how likely is that change? We have to differentiate between possibility and probability. As far as numbers go, possibility and probability are night and day differences. There's a possibility that the Chinese will raise their manufacturing standards. There's a possibility that GM can take a clean sheet approach and build. But what's the probability? When's the last time someone has succeeded in building a brand new software team, which is what's going to be necessary to do an electric car Tesla competitor from the inside of, say, a GM or the inside of a German car company? What does that ring any bells now? Let's go back into history and see what lessons we can learn. Do you remember what's the biggest IT/tech internet company you can think of right now? Well, there's Google and then there's Facebook, right? What goes back further? Facebook goes back further, so we can learn more from Facebook. When Facebook started going parabolic in its growth, what did people say? You remember what people said? Hey, all we have to do is make a Facebook competitor. All we have to do is make a social network. That was the key. All we have to do is make a social network. It's software. All you have to do is copy the code. It's that simple. Was it that simple? Is Facebook dead now? Everyone tried what? First there was MySpace, and then there was Friendster, and then there was this stir and that stir and this circle and that circle and Facebook, and who won? We don't even remember the names of anybody that's a competitor against Facebook. Oh, actually we do. Guess who it was? Google. You know how many times Google tried to compete with Facebook? And Google, if anybody can build an in-house software team, guess who it's going to be? It's going to be Google. How many times did they fail to compete against Facebook? You know who else failed at competing against Facebook? Microsoft. If Google and Microsoft, the same guys that are creating artificial intelligence that can beat teenage gamers and the world's grandmaster at the game of Go, can't create software that competes against Facebook, can't even create software that competes against Facebook Messenger, and you're buying GM stock because you think GM can build a software team that can compete against Tesla's software. Good luck with that. Let me put it to you this way. An existing mega car manufacturer, clean sheeting it into the electric car market is on the surface, as a consumer, it looks like, hey, it's got four wheels, it's got a steering wheel, and it moves. Okay, so it can't be that hard. Is just about the same as Wrigley's starting their own sushi restaurant chain. It's that different. Chewing gum goes in your mouth, you chew chewing gum, and it's tasty. Hey, sushi's the same thing. You put it in your mouth and you chew it and it's tasty. Is about the same as a combustion engine car manufacturer going into making software and an electronic vehicle. Okay, that was the fundamentals. Let's go into the charts. This is GM and it looks like shit. This is Porsche. It looks fantastic. This is Tesla. We will probably see a dip, which is a major buying opportunity. I'm sorry, but if you're going to cause Tesla to dip, it's a bear trap. It really is. Okay, let's take a look at why GM is... can I say that? I guess... Shit. I said it. Okay, here's GM. GM did fantastically well here, 2018, and then had a 3 drives down pattern and then a reversal and went back up to its high. Doesn't look like we're going to get... And every single time we hit the high, we hit it lower. We couldn't touch the last previous high. What does that mean? And what's happening right here? Most importantly, why did we even hit this high? Here it is, Industry Week. Last year, sales were up 21% because GM hits record sales in China. Ouch! This is the last place you want to hit record sales. Why? The moment you start selling in China really well, China ban, China ban, China ban, China censorship, China ban. China ends up either copying and jaktunging, which is copying, making exactly the same thing for half the price, or banning you, or doing both instantly. Just look up what China does. Every single time someone does really well in their country and takes their yuan out of their country, what do? They ban you or they clone you. We may see a temporary spike back up to this line, to this zone here, to this price, because we've got really positive trade talks going on with China. But that's just going to be euphoria. I really think this is going to be a bull trap. All right, here I'm going to cite Forbes. You know how fast, don't underestimate Chinese auto manufacturers. You know how fast Chinese people can copy? You know how fast these guys can actually ramp up? Let me zoom in here. And I'm quoting Willie, who teaches at Harvard Business School. How's this? The copying was legendary. A colleague at Toyota told me that he had a lot of respect for one of the Chinese companies in particular because their copying of one of Toyota's popular models was so good you could take the doors off and put it on the corresponding Toyota and the door seals would work perfectly. Wow. If, thanks to President Trump's talks, we go above this green line, you're really, really headed in the bull trap territory. So just be really careful with GM. It can't compete against Tesla, and it definitely cannot sustain this kind of development in China. How do I know? If you guessed it, you're with me. Apple's biggest stock price drops of the iPhone era. Where does the recent drop rank? This was just a couple weeks ago, January 5th. Why did Apple stock price drop? Apple loses ground to Huawei. Apple iPhone doesn't sell in China. Apple sales fall in China twice. Apple loses ground to Apple sales revenue cut in. It's just, if you start having massive revenues from China, you're going to stop having massive revenues from China. I mean, do I have to keep going? Apple sales revenue fell billions in China. Apple phone sales in China fell by 20%. Three biggest factors between Apple major sales slump and dire warning. Dire warning. It applies for everybody that's trying to build out China. Retailers are slashing prices across China. This is what GM looks like. Give it about a couple weeks, maybe even a month or so for GM to just pop really nicely up here. On sales and forecasted revenue, especially based on Trump's trade talks with China, that will end up being something like Trump's nuclear talks with North Korea. A lot of publicity, a lot of really positive sounding stuff where nothing really happens. And then give it another quarter or two when people start getting wise to the fact that, well, it's not working out as well as we had. GM, bull trap. What about Porsche? Porsche actually looks really good. Porsche looks really good. We've got a reversal diamond up here. This might have a head and shoulders-y effect where we might touch this line once again, but regardless, you can ease into this and buy here, and if it does drop, buy more here. All right, so this is what Porsche looks like. This reversal diamond, if it keeps going up, target is 70% profit in about a year and a half. That's not so bad. Year and a half to make 70% profit. That's really decent. The worst you're going to do, actually, there's a stop loss right here in here. If we end up, the worst you're going to do is 22%, but in reality, you're only going to lose about 7 or 8%, worst case scenario, because if we drop down underneath this point right here, this point, then you know to just sell. Cut your losses, hit a stop loss, and just sell and back out. Okay, now let's look at Tesla. Well, just quickly, right back to GM. Well, what about if we can't make a lot of headway in China? What about America? Can't we just ramp up more trucks and SUVs in America? This was yesterday. 7 million record Americans are 90 days behind on their auto loan payments. Come on. Consumer spending is abysmal right now. Nobody has any money. You think the money's going to go into here that nobody has? Tesla, we're going to give Tesla about 2 quarters, maybe even 3 quarters for all sorts of fancy upstart competitors to show up. Even guys like GM saying, hey, we just launched an electric car line that's just fantastic and it's going to blow Tesla out of the water, and we're using all of Tesla's patents they just opened up for free. You remember that when they did that? Because Tesla actually wants to save the ecology. Okay, so we're going to give it a couple quarters for everybody to show up, and Tesla's price is going to go doof, 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 doof. And either hit this support line or hit this support line. What's the difference between these two support lines? What happened here that would bring Tesla back to this type of price, this level of price? If we drop from here to here, $300 to $140, my goodness, Tesla is the deal of the century. You're rewinding history all the way back, how long ago? To 2014. Imagine if you could have bought, no, 2013. Imagine if you could have bought Tesla stock at 2013. You're going to get a second chance to do that. Maybe, if the price falls to this level. This is 2013 prices. If price falls only to $190 or so, you're still getting, oh my goodness, you're getting about a third off. More than a third off, almost a 35% discount from now on the price of Tesla, and that's going to take you all the way back to the earliest point, 2014 or so. 2014 all the way up to 2017 is the price range that you're going to get when Tesla drops to about these levels. Now, remember, the prices of Tesla's drops aren't necessarily going to be reflective or caused by Tesla sales, because Tesla sales are steady, if not improving. What's going to happen is competitor pressure, potential competitor pressure is going to take away the limelight from Tesla for a good couple quarters until people start actually test driving the competitors' cars. Porsche, who I love, they're going to introduce what, the Taycan, that's going to have that's just a purely electric car that's actually half the speed of Tesla's Model X that was produced years ago, started years ago, and it doesn't even do 0 to 60 in half the time. So as good as Porsche is with its suspension, it can't compete with Tesla. So Tesla, give it a couple quarters, maybe even a year and a half, for all the competitors to be flushed out of the woodwork, and then everyone's going to say, oh, okay, I guess there's only Tesla left. Oh, geez, we need to buy. Yeah, by that time it's too late. This is giving it 2 years, about a year for Tesla to fall, and then another year for Tesla to hit new all-time highs at about $500, which is going to get you, best case scenario, $140 all the way up to $500 in 2 years. In about a year, if you buy a year from now. Wow, that's really good. This is almost as good as buying Bitcoin right now. All right, let's look at some fundamentals right now. What happened at this price that's going to get us back to this price? What was Tesla's outlook like at this price? This is 2016, as you can see right there. So let's go back to 2016 and see what happened to Tesla in 2016. January 2016, Tesla production hell for Model X. Hey, we're going to release the Model X, except it's just, we're having so many problems. Wall Street wakes up and Faraday futures? What's a Faraday? Let's see. Okay, here it is. Some months later, this is still that year, Elon Musk would reveal that Tesla was in production hell, at this time struggling to iron out early production glitches and issues with the Model X, a vehicle whose design Musk pointed as being example of hubris. Okay. Meanwhile, the Consumer Electronics Show in Vegas, mysterious new startup Faraday Future pulled the cover off of an exotic, eclectic concept car. Did Tesla had a new competitor on the stage? Did it? I mean, these competitors made Tesla's price do this, and Faraday Future, what is it? Is this a futures contract that's on CME now or on NASDAQ? That's made by a Faraday cage? Who is this? Who the fook is that? Right? So while history doesn't necessarily repeat going from here to here, it certainly will rhyme. All right, so that is our overview. What's my personal long-term plan? Really, really simple. I'm not buying GM. Definitely not. This is a bull trap in the waiting. It's so clear. Porsche, might buy some Porsche. Porsche looks good. Tesla, I'm just going to wait with bated breath until it gets cheaper, pushed down by people that don't remember or pay attention to history. While I'm waiting, everything's in Bitcoin. Bitcoin, remember, this guy is going to take about a year or a year and a half to drop until these levels. Bitcoin, in that same year, I'm thinking Bitcoin will hit $50,000 to $80,000. Yep, I'm telling you, 20x returns on Bitcoin, 30, 40, 50x returns on Ethereum is possible. Probable, I'm going to lean toward probable even. So if you make a ton of profit, I'm talking 20, 30, 40, 50x, 50 times profit. What's that? 5,000% profit in about a year. And then just as soon as the bubbles just getting so big and fat and plump and juicy and poppable, flip it into Tesla right when it's going down. So up, down, up. And that should pretty much secure my retirement and retirement of just about everybody that claims to be a family member of mine.